So, it's been a very interesting few days, I'm sure you would agree with the referendum. The government are literally pulling their hair out at the moment, along with the media and the NGOs, just to say it's a quite embarrassment. The whole political parties in the Dáil and the Seanad, apart from a few rural independents, ain't too. Even the main opposition party, Sinn Féin, main opposition, but they're more one and the same with Fianna Fáil and Gaeilge. Yeah, they're just a bit more. I don't know what you would call Sinn Féin, but basically, long story short, the whole lot of them were for the referendum. Oh yeah, yes, 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 and it didn't turn out very well in OT. The whole media establishment, everything was with them, and it went overwhelmingly no. So I'm sure they're pulling their hair out of them, and the NGOs getting billions a year and to shill. Yes, yes, vote. The National Women's Council Voluntary, for example, not in the interests of women, this referendum, and they were all for it. No questions asked. But at the end of the day, that's what you have to put up with in a modern day country. Um, but yeah, I just want to talk about just the literary amount of cope that's going on at the moment in the government. So at the moment, there's a lot of things to talk about here, so just bear with me. First of all, Papa Hackett, the Green Party senator, who's going off to Finland and stuff soon on the holidays, obviously, for St. Patrick's Day, of course. All government paid, taxpayer payment, but don't worry. So she's basically coming out and crying now at the moment. She's not very happy. Along with the majority of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, they're not very happy, and Green Party. That the particularly if you've seen the ditches, if you follow them on Twitter, they do great work. They're basically exposed to the public the Attorney General's advice to the government on the referendum, saying it would be abused 100 times over if it did pass. And first of all, it wasn't really that relevant to anything, because the warden was terrible. Basically, they could be abused 100 million times. And that was, when was that ever going to be leaked to the public? Was the government ever going to release the Attorney General's advice? No, they wouldn't, because it didn't favour their agenda, it didn't favour their yes vote. Because it was basically telling them, it could be abused 1 million times over. And the ditch got this advice from wherever. But Papa Hackett is like, we need to get the ditch. We need to put them all in prison, and we need to get whoever was at this crack. We need to get rid of them. But at the end of the day, the information, even though it was linked to the whoever the information they got it from, it should have been public, because the Attorney General's advice, the government asked the Attorney General for advice on different legislation, constitutional amendments, etc., etc. And he basically told them it could be abused in 100 million ways. And I'm sure they knew it. They knew what they were doing. They're not stupid, the government. Neil Richmond basically said on live TV what they wanted to do, basically. He basically let the cat out of the bag on live TV. Which the government, I'm sure, are fuming at. But it's not even that. Like, we were trying to hide things with the was basically should have been public information, that the Attorney General said this could be abused and the warden is totally wrong and stuff like that. And the government are throwing and Papa Hackett now is like, we need to get these people on the ditch and we need to shut them up and stuff like that. We need to shut up anybody who said no and no. Basically all just coping. They're not like, they're ignoring the fact that, like, somebody in OTE did mention it, that a lot of people are not very happy with the government, which is an understatement, but particularly about immigration and stuff like that, them issues. And this is, and it's perfectly honest, a lot of people just don't trust the government. And like myself, I vote, like whatever they said they were going to give me €1 billion in the morning along with everybody in the country, and I had to vote on it. I would vote no. I genuinely couldn't trust them, because they're up to something if they're going to give you something for nothing. Like, you couldn't trust the Irish government, because time and time again they show you that they don't care about you. It's a perfect example of this referendum too. They don't care about the women. They don't care about anybody. They just want to push their woke agenda and whatever the World Economic Forum's agenda too. But and then obviously now we have Willie O'Deed and James O'Connor of the Fianna Fáil party coming out now saying that Fianna Fáil needs to focus on bread and butter issues. So there's kind of a lot of Fianna Fáil and Fianna Gael, this is going to the next point, they're kind of cowering in fear now, because they know what's coming in the next election. After this, overwhelmingly no, like the biggest no in any referendum in the history of the state, the two referendums, like utterly no, like not 50-50 or anything like that. Like, it was utterly no, just utterly just rejecting the political establishment, because this is the truth, and they think they know it themselves. They're not that stupid. They pushed people far too far the last few months. They pushed people's buttons far too much. For the last long time they got off for too much, and finally people are starting to say, we have enough of you fucking arsing about and doing this kind of carry on to the country. And they know what's coming. They generally do know what's coming. They know they're all going to probably lose their seats. And Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are not going to exist. Because people are that fucking annoyed. Which I wouldn't blame people, because let's be fair, you would have to be annoyed with the amount of stuff the government has done the last few years. And just basically told you to accept it without anything. to say sorry or anything. They just told you to accept it. Sit down and shut up, or we get our good friends in the Irish Media Commission to come along and shut you up for us. And not even to mention the hate speech, but yeah, going back to Willie O'Deed and stuff. Willie O'Deed's been in Fianna Fáil since God was a ghost, to be totally honest. And he's coming along now on Twitter saying, Fianna Fáil needs to focus on bread and butter issues more than the hate speech legislation and woke agendas, which I do agree with. But they should have been saying this a few years ago at this stage instead of coming along now. But the only reason why they're saying it now because they've seen the referendum, they've seen that people. It's not just what they were voting on. People knew what they were voting on, of course. The people went out and voted no. But it's not even that. It's other issues that they're not happy with, immigration and stuff, even just generally the government. And the media won't admit that because that's literally the answer why people overwhelmingly voted no. Because people are sick and tired of them. It's simple as that. Sick and tired of them. And they know what's coming in 4 months' time. They know in the local Tauri election, Fianna Fáil are going to get a Howard Eaton. The same with Sinn Féin too. And the whole establishment political parties are going to get a Howard Eaton. Which it's about time they get a kick up the arse. It is literally about time. For the last 100 years they got off for far too much Fianna Fáil and it's about time to start getting a kick in the hole to maybe teach them a lesson, just to cop on a bit and stop being fucking so idiotic in what they're doing. But they know what they're doing because they've been told what to do. There's powers higher than them telling them what to do. And we shouldn't have that in a democracy. The people are the judges. The people are the judge, executioner, and that's the end of the day. That's the people they should be reporting to. The people who elect them, not anybody in Europe or anything like that, or nobody in a shady room in Switzerland. It shouldn't be the case. But long story short, Fianna Fáil are not having a good time, and there's a lot of other ones. The media now is trying to spin this story now. Oh, it was because people didn't know what they were voting on and all that. Oh, Jesus, the government didn't do a good job communicating. But you have to understand, the people who didn't understand, and a lot of people didn't understand now, in fairness, they're right in saying that. There's some people, but they didn't vote. They just said, fuck it, I don't know what I'm voting on, just stay at home, go to work, pay my bills, I don't care. And, in fairness, that's okay. If you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. But the people who did know, like myself, I know what their agenda is. I know what's behind this. I know what they're up to. The same as many people, they know what they're up to. Because time and time again, as I keep saying, the government have showed the true colours, that they just simply do not care. And it's especially what Neil Richmond said. And what Leo said in the 6 o'clock show that about care, that we're bringing in the care referendum and stuff like that. And then he's like, fuck the elderly people. The state shouldn't have to care for them and stuff like that. So, you're really shooting yourself in the foot multiple times over. And then even what the Attorney General said. But only for the people in the ditch, we would never have seen the light of day. And the biggest funny thing, and another thing I need to say, is when they were going to do the concert, they were so full of themselves they thought they would win overwhelmingly, and they were going to have a big concert and a big celebration for the yes side, of course. But they got very upset when people said overwhelmingly no, so they threw all the toys out of the pram and said nobody can have concert, nobody can have fun, nobody can have this, nobody can have that, because we're very upset because the people voted against us. Leo was very shocked at the moment, to be the answer. But yeah, long story short, it was a very bittersweet moment. A lot of people that campaigned and stuff, they're just kind of happy it's over and done. There was no really big celebration, but I found that very funny that the government literally threw the toys out of the pram. You take in celebration, we always hear about Putin and democracy and stuff like that. And they're not celebrating democracy. You think they'd be saying, people went out and voted and they had to say, let's have a celebration that people actually celebrate, participate in democracy and stuff like that. And the will of the people, etc., etc. No, all that will was gone. As soon as you vote against the government, nope, fuck you. No will, no goodwill at all. But yeah, obviously they're coming out now with this far right. The media are just saying, this is the far right's fault. This is the Russians. It's everybody's fault, but our fault. They literally are just looking for any excuse now to blame. They probably will blame Putin for this. But let's be fair. I don't think you could blame Putin for this. Whatever, but anything else, you wouldn't be able to really blame him for this one. I don't think they care. Maybe they could blame Sanna Wynne, but with her tweet that she said. But they probably will at this stage to say the Finns are winning the election or something like that. In the game, of course, in the game, our good friends in the Irish Media Commission in the game. But yeah, it's quite a mess, feck it. But yeah, no, it's a quirking though. They literally are just in turmoil at the moment because they know what's coming in the next election. That's what they realised in this point. That's what they kind of woke up to finally. So, and the only reason why Willie O'Deed and James O'Connell and stuff like that is saying this because they know if they don't start doing something in a few months basically, because next year or some point. And basically the government have said too they're going to rule out an early election because they know themselves they want to try and keep power as long as they can, because they generally do know people have enough of it, and this referendum just shows it. Thank you.